Jake Klein, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Rachel. Great to be here.
Jake, what's the significance of getting a top ranking by the global group Institutional Shareholder Services for your Environment and Social Sustainability report?
I think it's such an achievement for us. I mean, we've been on this journey of sustainability and improving our social license to operate, as all gold companies are. And to be recognised by these groups, we also have we're one of 2 gold companies included in the Dow Jones Australia Sustainability Index. We've made a commitment to reduce our carbon emissions by 30% in 2030 and net zero by 2050. So, sustainability, ESG, has become such an important part of our business. We're very proud of that achievement.
How will you achieve that commitment?
So really, it's for us the most important part is getting to a place where we're using renewable power, and that's starting to become more available. We use a lot of power to grind the rocks in our mills, and if we can access renewable power either locally or from the grid, ideally from the grid, that would be the best outcome for us. And then, of course, I think we're heading towards a time when electric vehicles and trucks will be available, and I see that as the next generation of change.
And what about with your Scope 3 emissions?
So as a gold company, we have very few Scope 3 emissions. So our Scope 1 emissions are 30% of our emissions, Scope 2 are 70%, and we produce a bar of gold which is pretty pure and then gets refined. So that's a very, very small part of our emissions, and we're in the fortunate position where we really have control over our emissions in the Scope 1 and Scope 2 areas.
The focus that we're seeing on ESG and decarbonisation, would that be the biggest shift that you've seen in mining since you started Evolution a decade ago?
I've been in the mining industry now for 30 years almost, and yeah, the ESG momentum that is growing just over the last few years, particularly over the last 24 months, I would say it's really gaining exponentially, and I think it's becoming and recognised increasingly as a critical part of our business. It really is going to be a defining aspect of our company going forward.
What else has changed during Evolution's existence?
Well, the gold price has changed, which has been good. It's gone up a lot. When we started, just a couple of years after we started the company, the gold price was around 1,500 Australian dollars an ounce. Now it's $2,400 an ounce. That's a great price. I think our asset base has changed dramatically. We only have one of the original assets that we started the company with. We've been looking at always trying to improve the quality of our portfolio, and we've done that very successfully. We've done 12 transactions, and we are now one of the lowest cost gold producers in the world. We've also tried to differentiate ourselves as being very focused on quality over quantity and margin over volume, and I think going forward that's reflected in the fact that investors are looking for quality. They're looking for companies that can make a return on capital appropriate with the risk they're taking, and that's demonstrated in our past history of being able to pay 17 consecutive dividends.
Throughout this year you have expressed some frustration at not being able to get across to your mines in Western Australia from your base in Sydney, of course because of border controls. How detrimental has that been to operations?
I think virtual meetings, there's an element of fatigue in that. I don't think it has been as effective as being on the ground. Our COO and VP Discovery were able to go to Red Lake a few weeks ago, which is in Canada. We haven't been able to get to Mungari in Kalgoorlie area, Western Australia, for some time. And yeah, there is definitely an impact that has on the business that our senior leaders aren't really able to engage with our people on the site. And yes, you can see it on a TV screen, but it's not the same as touching, feeling and talking to people about it.
What do you think the next decade looks like for Evolution Mining, but gold mining more broadly in Australia?
From a gold mining perspective, I think investors are going to become increasingly focused on ESG, as we talked about earlier. I think they're going to become increasingly focused on return on capital. That's going to be really important. I think producing top-line ounces is going to be less important than how much money are you producing for each ounce of gold, how safely are you doing it, and how are you reducing your carbon footprint in doing it on every ounce you're producing. So that's the kind of trend which I see. Things are going to have to, you're going to have to look deeper. Most of the easy things at surface have been found, so we are going to have to get more scientific, use more technology to find deposits that may be subsurface and blind to not surfacing, daylighting onto the surface.
Jake Klein, thanks so much for coming on the program.
Thanks, Rachel.